Hello.
Okay, it's recording. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our book study tonight. Brittany is at a full dress rehearsal for her show this weekend and sends her love, and she is going to watch the recording as soon as I post it. And so I get the privilege of introducing my wonderful teammates, Deirdre and Loxila. And these two women are answers to my prayers for kingdom-minded women to be on my team. And I'm so excited that you guys get to hear from them, and I'm so excited for them to facilitate us in discussion. So take it away, ladies.
Awesome. Yay. Well, I'm going to start first. I am just loving this book. And so I'll just get right into it. So the first one was talking about asking people for help, basically, and what that does. And so a couple things that I saw, hold on, shadow on the face, whoa, was asking for help makes people important. And the one thing in our culture that we don't do, and it gets talked a lot about, like being vulnerable and real and raw, like on social media, because it's just that one clip and everyone thinks you're happy and everything's fine, where really people are like dying inside and going through all this stuff. So there's almost this push for asking for help and this authenticity. And it's interesting because I'll always tell my husband, because he's a pastor, he used to like to do a lot of things where he would do it. And he's like, why isn't anyone stepping up? And I'm like, well, babe, sometimes you need to let people step back and leave room for someone to step up into. And it was just really cool because that's what this chapter made me think of, is creating a space, like a safe space for people to come in and be a part of the relationship and your life and building things together. So I have two questions, and we'll take a minute to have you guys write them down. I'm looking at my notes. So one, let's see. If you could ask for help, like in what areas, what would you ask for help for? And then the second one is, where do you wish people asked you for help? So the first one is where you would want to ask for help in your life. Then the second question is where you would want people to come to you and ask you to help them. So we'll take 60 seconds, 1 minute, and you guys can write that down, and then we'll talk about it. So yay. Go ahead.
Deirdre, I'm so sorry. Will you tell me one more time what to write down?
Sure, no worries. So first question is, what would you ask for help more on? What would you, like in all the areas of your life, what would you want to ask for help? Or should you be asking for help? And then the second one is, where do you want others in their lives to be asking you for help? It can be from your kids, husband, friends. Where do you wish they would actually initiate that with you?
Okay, so where I wish they would initiate help. So in this case, like maybe from my team, my downline.
Yes.
Oh, girl, that is a great. That's a great question, because here's the thing: if we can understand what our downline needs, then we can understand as leaders what we need to possess more of. So you are nailing it. Exactly. That's amazing. Okay, I'm writing it down right now.
I'm going to switch hands, actually, holding the phone. All right. I went sideways, sorry. All right, so I will go first. So basically, if I were to ask for help, it would be for organization, and I've already done that with Michelle. And also in clarity in communicating things is probably where I need to ask for more help. Like if things don't feel clear, instead of trying to like muddle through it and try to just figure it out, then actually not being worried about what people think and just ask. And then the other thing with people with downline and I guess specifically, I actually wish they would ask for helping with building belief. I would love everything with products and product questions, with like relational questions, anything. I would love it all because I love doing that. But actually, belief was the one that popped the biggest and hardest in my mind. So, anyone else want to share?
Yes.
Yes, me too.
Oh my gosh, this is so good, because when you identify these areas, you can attack it with a laser focus.
And say that again, Michelle. Wait. Say that again.
Yes, once you identify these areas of where you need help, you can attack it with a laser focus, and that's how you grow. If you don't know where you need help, if you don't know the areas of weakness, you cannot grow, and you will continue to find the patterns and fall over and over and over again. And as a leader, which all of you are, we need not only ourselves, but you need to do it with your downline too.
Well, yeah, and let me interrupt, Michelle. Hold on, because you're on a roll, but hold on. If you think for a second that you have no area of which to focus, you
That's
are
right.
flawed 100%.
Yeah,
so
your area is pride.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, girl, say it again. Yeah, so Michelle and I come to you, and Chris and Emily, I mean, we come to you from the highest levels on this team, and we're telling you right now that if you can't think of an area that you wish that you could grow in, or an area that you know that you are deficient in, then deficient in, then that is the area you're deficient in.
That's
because
right.
Listen, every single day, y'all, here's what I can promise you. Every single day, the leaders of this group, we are chewing through the material together. We are elbowing our way through it. We are crying over our misconceptions. We are sad over our failures. We are all of the things. And if we feel that way, y'all, everyone has areas that we can improve on. And so I don't tell you that to discourage you. I tell you that to encourage you. Like, we are figuring it out every day. And listen, the more we figure out, the more pumped up we are to come here. Like, Brittany and I talked today, and she said, Christina, I'm so amazed that you're okay with being so transparent and be like, listen, I've done this wrong for 3 years. Y'all, hell yeah, I'm excited about being transparent. If I've done it wrong for 3 years, let me save you 3 years.
Yes.
Because for 3 years, I've loved people. For 3 years, I've wanted success. For 3 years, I've worked really hard. And so let me save you 3 years. And let me tell you that it's about loving people, or whatever the situation is. So I'm going to mute again. But listen, when Michelle speaks, or when these girls speak, when Deirdre Lox speaks, you've got to be vulnerable to yourself, and you've got to be open to what you can change, because it is not what the world can do for you, guys. It's not. Yeah. It is what you're going to do for this world.
That's right.
And then another thing is, like, if you're not going for the healthy growth, you're going to go for the toxic. Like, there's no I'm not going to grow. It's going one way or another. And gosh. It's like, which way are you going to grow?
That's why. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
So that was my thoughts. Anyone else want to thoughts jump in? I love seeing the comments pop up on the bottom. All right. And
I'll go if we're still talking. Yes. I'll go if we're still talking. I would say building relationship with others and being others focused and not always being about myself. That would be for my downline, what I would want help with. And for something that I would want someone to help me, or how do I need help, I guess that was the other question. Being a better communicator and being better with finances.
That's good. Thank you for sharing that. That's
You're
awesome.
welcome. Good questions. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Anyone else want to jump on? That's so good. Now,
all of us need to write these questions down, because each one of us should be having calls with our uplines and downlines discussing these questions. Okay. Now, and it's not like, remember what Brittany says, you don't want to necessarily spend all this time in your area where you want to stay functioning in your area of strength. For example, like I'm not going to pour tons of time into becoming a numbers person. I'm going to do what I need to do, but I'm not a numbers person. I'm going to stay in my area of strength, which is talking and encouraging and inspiring belief. And when I'm functioning in my strength, right? So just have that distinction. But Brittany should always be asking me about where do I need help and how does my team? And you should always be asking your people too.
And here's what I would say to y'all. Michelle and I benefit zero from one another in our business.
Right.
Emily and I benefit zero from one another. Chris and I, same thing. But here's what I can count on. I can count if I need encouragement in numbers or there are many times I go to Michelle and say, girl, listen, tell me I'm doing the right thing. Tell me I'm going to be successful. Tell me all the things.
That's right.
She's laughing because it's the truth. Like every week.
Yeah.
And so be cognizant to ask for help in the areas that you recognize a weakness and go to people wisely. Like I don't go to someone less successful and say, tell me I'm going to be great. Like I go to someone who I revere as great. Like to me, Michelle is wise and she is knowledgeable and she's successful and she is all the things that I want to be. And so I say, hey, tell me what you see in me and tell me how to be better. And so it is wise to plug in to people who are wiser than you. It does not make you less.
That's
it
right.
Makes you smart.
That's right.
It makes
That's
you
exactly
smart.
Right.
Yes.
Be smart. If I wanted to be a bikini competitor in a fitness program, I wouldn't go and join Weight Watchers. I would go and join fitness competitors and I would say, hey, tell me how to be better. What exercise do I do to make this go away or make that stand out? Or what do I do? I would go and surround myself with the best of these. And so that does not make you inferior, you guys. It makes you wise.
Yeah. That's a good one. I had a thought. Oh, man. Oh, so we were made to be discipled. Like God started that like way in the beginning with Adam and Eve, and then Jesus even showed it. And so we, like what I said, you'll go either the growth way, you'll grow toxic or either healthy. And so the same thing is like what you said, being wise and who you choose. And knowing just the power of words, because you see it with like kids all the time. Like if you're sharp with them, or even if someone speaks to you, there's just how you even speak over yourself and say, oh, well, I don't need to ask for help, or I can do this, or I can't do this, or, different things like that. Even in your mind, because a lot of times I'll just be silent, but I have this internal monologue going, that you even need to check the internal monologues and say, no, the tongue in my head needs to be still and before the Lord and just quiet, and take in what he is telling me to do. So that popped in my head while you were talking. So thank you, Christina. Loxila, are you able to jump on? I know you're rocking a baby.
I am. I was, yeah. I handed her off for whatever reason tonight. She's decided to be very fussy. I'm like, tonight of all nights?
Right. She wants to be on
so
the phone.
Helpful. Yeah. She's like, I have something to say.
Oh.
So yeah, I wanted to just touch on that real quick too, because I think we're all created for community. And so we're meant to work together. That's just the way it is. And so if we aren't reaching out and looking for ways to help and to be helped, we are really going to fill those needs in other ways. And whether that's necessarily leaving them empty or whether we're not even ever asking for help, so we're feeling alienated and then and essentially allowing a business, a dream, something to die because we feel like we can't do it alone, but we never even ask for help. And so I think it's so important to not only be aware of us needing to ask for help, but being aware of inspiring those working with you to ask for help so that they don't feel like they're alone, so that they don't have that. Even if you're not presenting that to them, if that's their internal monologue, because that's what they've always known is, oh, I just have to do this on my own, they'll naturally gravitate to that. And then they won't be building with you. They'll be trying to do it on their own, and then they'll be defeated. And so I think it's so important to be aware of that balance of where you're going and where you want them to be going with you.
Yeah, that's good. Love it. You women have so much wisdom. It's awesome. Sweet. Well, let's go on to the other one. You want to take it away, Loxila?
So chapter 4 was about memories, and this one was actually very, very powerful for me. It just kind of hit me in this nerve place for me, because I think intentionality in creating memories and creating relationship is so, so important in every aspect of our lives, but especially in this kind of a situation where you're building a business with people that you don't necessarily always know. You're really kind of developing these relationships as you're going along. And so it was really powerful to me because, you know, they were talking about actually specific memories of, you know, like family fishing trips together, just things that were very specific that we all have, kind of these family memories that we kind of go back and revisit and relive and enjoy. But for me, it kind of brought something to mind just as far as this team as well, because I have been using the product for 6 months, but as far as just kind of plugging into the business, it's been very short term for me. And already I have found such powerful memory facilitating things in, for Michelle, for example, is so encouraging and just so powerful and so prayer centered, and just, I can feel like I'm all over the place and frazzled and literally just say one thing to her and it's like, okay, I'm good. I've got this. I can settle in and get back where I need to be. And she's just so good at that. And it may not be a specific memory, but just a feeling that just you're anchored now. And we've never met in person. We don't have a long relationship, you know, but it's that intentionality that she brings to that by using those strengths that really pulls me into this space that makes me feel like, okay, we got this. And Brittany is the same way. Again, we've never met. We don't have a real relationship. We have a lot in common, we've discovered, but she's been very intentional about building that. And it has been very powerful. And these are the kind of relationships that you want to have to lean on, especially if something goes wrong in your business, or you have a difficult situation, or you have somebody that's having an issue. And for me, that came back again to that, where I felt like here we are building a business based on relationship, based on helping people. And so it's so important to always look at, okay, so how am I creating memories for these people that I'm trying to serve in this business, and for the people that I'm trying to support in growing their business? And that's actually one of the questions that I wanted us to look at tonight, was where are the places that you feel like you're doing really well at this? Like, am I building these memories for people? Am I really engaging that core kind of centered bonding moments that really come from, and it doesn't have to be in-person activities and stuff. You know, I think it's really, that's amazing if you have that, but because of the nature of this, we don't all have that. And so I want to take just a real quick minute to just say, okay, what am I doing right here? What am I really succeeding at engaging people and creating that sense of memory and community? And then also ask the question, where could I be better at it? What could I do? What step could I take to really improve the volume and the value in these relationships that I have, of connections and of moments and of tidbits that are really bonding us together, whether it's over the internet, whether it's over video, whatever it is. So we'll just go ahead and take 1 minute real quick.
Can you real quick say them one more time?
Say it again. Okay. We're just talking too much. We need these repeated. So where are the places that you really excel? You feel like you're doing really well at creating memories and connections and sense of community and relationship? And then what is the area that you feel like you could really strengthen that? What is something that you could do better in that regard?
Awesome. All right, here we go.
Lox, will you say that one more time? Because
Sure.
It's 2 parts, so I need help.
Yeah. So what is the area that what is your strength as far as creating connections and memories and building relationships with the people on your team or sidelines or all your lines? And what is the area that you feel like you could do better at that you could really be more intentional about creating those moments that you can go back and connect to and relive when you need to, for them and for you?
I'll go ahead and share. So the first question, my answer would be at least once a month, I get on a Zoom with my leaders. It's usually my golds and above that are actually showing up as leaders in the team page. And we go over what our month looked like the month before, what goals we had set, what we excelled in, where we fell short, what we're looking toward for the following month. And then we talk about how can I pray for you in the spiritual sense, in your business, your personal life, like all the things. We do that together as a team. So we did used to do it weekly, and we found that we just didn't commit as well to that. So now we just try to hop on a Zoom once a month at the beginning of the month and just do that evaluation and pray over each other. And I'm intentional to write down so that I actually really do go and pray and focus on those things in prayer for my team. But a way that I could probably improve in connection with my team is to make myself more available spontaneously, because I will have people that are like, I can tell they want to connect with me, and it's not necessarily about the business, and I do want to make that a priority, but I will put it out like several days. Like, I know this is really important, and I do want to connect with you, but I probably could squeeze in 20 minutes, but I know that I'm a talker and maybe they're a talker, and it's going to be a talkative subject. But it doesn't hurt me to squeeze in 30 minutes here and there instead of putting it out, until the next week or something, just because that's what's more convenient. So I could probably improve in that, just being more, I guess, flexible as a leader and not having to be so like rigidly scheduled if it's not something that's going to need my immediate concern as far as the business. I shouldn't be so concerned about it being something business first and then the other connections later.
I love that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so if I had to answer, what is my strength? I think my strength, and I feel like my sidelines would agree, I'm really good about bringing humor and light to a situation. I'm really good at perspective, and is it really that big of a deal? Like, one way or the other, like, is that dress really that big of a deal, or is this girl like unfriending you that big of a deal? Like, I'm really good at perspective. Like, you had to miss a team call. Like, was your issue relevant? Is it that big of a deal? Like, I'm really good at perspective. What I'm really lack at, you guys, and it's been a huge focus, and my sideline leaders will tell me, I'm really working on time. Brittany said to me very recently, she said, Christina, how do you spell love? And so I spelled it because I'm a phonetic literacy teacher, L-O-V-E. And she said, no, ma'am, you spell love T-I-M-E. And so that's an area that I really struggle in. I really struggle in devoting my time to other humans. And it's something that I have had to learn to be okay with struggling. I have 4 kids, you guys, and I have a large team, and I have a lot of people working. And so an investment of time to me, especially of a red personality, feels like sometimes I have to take away from what I consider productive. I consider my IPA productive. I'm a very strong recruiter, and so if I have to take away time of what I'm really strong in and pour time into relationships where maybe that is a struggle. I mean, I love my girls, and they'll tell you I love them. My team knows I care about them deeply, but I'm not great at carving out the things that they need. Like, they have to be very explicit. And so I train them very early on to say, hey, you need to demand of me what you need. And it's okay. Like, I accept that demand. And so I try to make amends for that weakness, but it is a weakness. Like, it's not something that comes natural to me. And so that's an area that I can improve on for sure, would be the area of time and just being intentional to love on every single person, because every single person has such value. I'm reading the 21 Irrefutable Laws, and it talks about being an adder and a subtractor. And I know, Chris, this is right up Chris's alley, you guys, right up Chris's alley, because it talks about in every relationship, you're either an adder or a subtractor by default, whether you want to be or not. Like 90% of subtractors don't mean to subtract, but 90% of adders do so intentionally. And so if I'm not intentionally adding, then by nature I'm subtracting. So that's the area of improvement for me.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So good. Love it. For me, it was interesting because I found this to be sort of a similar thing, but a different level, because I found that where I needed to really improve was more of just being okay with inviting people into my mess, like having a conversation. Yeah, sure, let's do a phone call. You're going to hear my kids all over the place in the background, but that's okay. Like, this is me and this is where it's going to be, because I'm always like, well, if it's not quiet, it'll be hard to hear and I won't maybe be able to explain everything. And just really just being more just real and like, hey, this is what it is. This is where I'm coming from, and you are welcome in it. And just really bringing people into that. I'm very strong at noticing details. I keep lists of details. Every time I have a conversation with somebody, I write down what they said, how they're feeling, what's going on, because I think it's so critical to be able to go back to that and bring it forward for them. I had somebody that was kind of negative about the products this week, and it was amazing for me to be able to kind of pull back from our last conversation to really pull her back into that and say, oh my goodness, well, let's see what's going on with you. Let's pull that information back out and figure out what's going on with you. And she really shifted immediately because she felt like I cared, like I was totally intensely paying attention to her. And it kind of surprised me, because I was like, wow, she came from this negative space to all of a sudden, yeah, help me figure out how to stay on these products and feel amazing. And it was like, oh, so that's totally my strength. But just letting people be in the noise and the mess and everything else can be really difficult and kind of overwhelming and make me feel frazzled sometimes. So I'm really learning to just, hey, this is where we're at. We're just all trying to figure it out. It's great. So that's been huge.
Oh, that's so good. I actually learn a lot from Loxila, like a lot. I'm so thankful she's that we're doing
very
this
mutual.
Because I just like every time she talks, I'm like, yeah, I'm like taking notes every time. It's great. So where I'm really good, I excel at encouragement. But where I feel like I excel is compassion and encouragement. Just like people, when they hit hard times, I've just been able to really connect, because that's one thing that can really pull you real fast out of your product use or doing the business, because just that feeling of overwhelm, you start to try to cut things off. And if someone connects with you, and I don't do it out of like, oh, I got to connect with them. It's just like that empathy of like, oh my gosh, I totally get it. I went through a hard time when I was first getting on the products. Yes, but you can do this. That coupling is a really good strength for mine. I think it's really helpful for it just when you help people grow through a hard patch. It creates that memory of like, oh yeah, they were there with me, instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, how much more drama can I handle? I don't typically think that, by the way, but I know that can be a thought in some people's minds. But place I can improve is actually stopping and just being. I realize I'm very either phlegmatic or I want to get things done. And I notice this with my girls. I'll have to stop and create a memory with them, like stop and be like, we haven't played pretend today. I need to do that. So almost like making sure when I get with someone who is like building the business or product, of making sure I am not just focused on one thing. Now I want to make sure I get things done. We cover what we need to, because then I can tend to do the other way of like never addressing it. But having that balance of those two together, I feel like would be really good. if that makes sense. Bam.
I love that. And you do absolutely, totally excel at being encouraging and everything. I love that.
Oh, thanks. Praise God.
I'll share. I hadn't talked tonight. So I think I excel at being a cheerleader. I will cheer anybody and everybody on. I love to do that. And I'm very empathetic, maybe almost to a fault, but I can totally put myself in your position and, how would I feel, that kind of thing. So I think that's where I kind of excel. But I definitely have some places to work on that I can get better with. And I think one is just being others focused. I can definitely improve there. And being vulnerable, like putting myself out there, because I'm not very good at that. I do not like to put myself out there. Now, when you're talking and you're being vulnerable, I will cheer you on the whole way. But when it comes back on me, I'm not fantastic at that. So I definitely want to get better at that, because people relate. Like when we are vulnerable and we, put our hearts out there, people see that. And it does, you do have that moment with people because they see that rawness and that realness, in you. So I definitely want to improve in that area, and just listening when people talk, like when somebody, says, "Hey, my name is," it's like a blank, and I couldn't tell you what your name was to save my soul. But I want to get better at just listening and paying attention. And if I'm on the phone doing a 3-way call or something, I am writing down notes the whole time, because when we get off, Brittany will say, "Well, what'd you think?" Or what'd you take from that? And I'm going, I don't know. I don't know. I have to read my notes. So, those are definitely areas that I can improve. And, I want to do better. But I will be there to cheer you on. Whether I'm listening fully or not, I will cheer you on. So, that's what I've got.
That's awesome. I think you do a great job cheerleading. I love it. Okay. Anyone else?
I'll go. These have been wonderful. Mine's kind of like a mixture. As I've been listening, it's kind of a mixture of what a lot of people says. I feel like I'm very good at being positive in every situation. I feel like, when people come to me and tell me things, they expect me to put a positive spin on it. I think that comes naturally to me. I'm also very compassionate. Someone said empathy. I totally can relate to that because when somebody tells me something that's hard for them, like I immediately put myself in their shoes and I think, oh my gosh, yes, I would feel that way, or I can definitely understand how you're thinking right now. So I think that's what maybe I excel in. I definitely need to do better in the area of details, being present. I do like to check in with people. That's a strength of mine, is checking in with people. But I think actually what it is that I'm doing during the check-in, I need to get better at that. I need to be taking notes. Okay, I asked her how she was doing, but how did she act? What did she actually say? Like, what did she respond? How can I help? Yes, I'm checking in with her, and she probably likes that, but I need to be able to, it needs to be worthwhile for her. I need to be able to invest in her and not just check in with her, but, really investing in people and being present with them and letting them know that I'm truly there for them and want to help them along the way.
That's good. I'm writing
Love
this
that.
down. Shoot.
I'll share. I would say that I'm an encourager and I'm compassionate, for others. I've been a mentor for young Christian moms, so I'm very good at that. But I find myself when I'm in conversations, I'm trying to rush the conversation. Like, okay, let's say what I have to say and move on to the next conversation. So
that's good. I like that. I like slowing it down, because I feel the same
Mhm.
push to like, hurry up, get them to this point, get them to this
Yeah.
point, where it's like, it's okay to let it sit. Like sometimes it's actually even better, because then it sort of is like real life.
I'll go real quick. So I think I'm very good at being present, and I think I'm very compassionate. I've always tried to be that way. But one thing I lack is, I agree with Emily. I need to work on vulnerability. I have a hard shell, and I don't like it to be brought down. So that's something that I really have to work on in any relationship, and especially this business.
That's good. That's really good. I mean, I have loved how growing in the business has grown me as a person. And so I hear you saying that the same. Yeah, that's beautiful. Awesome. Loxila, do you have anything else that you wanted
I
to add?
don't really. I think that's pretty much it. I love everybody sharing that. It's so that this is creating a memory for me. It's creating community, that kind of sense of we're in it together, we're growing together, we're going somewhere together, and just really having a future here with all of these amazing people. So it's very exciting. Thank you all for sharing.
Yes, it's been such a blessing, like hearing each heart and just the strengths and the weaknesses, and how we're all walking it together is just so amazing. So I'm blessed by every single one of you just on the call, and as that you shared your heart. You are amazing, just men and women, and I'm excited to see what God's going to do. So thanks for listening to us.
Thanks for the great questions.
Yes, ladies, you were amazing. This was a phenomenal call. And Lox, you said it perfectly. This is why team calls and book study is so important, because we are creating those memories in team culture. And it's not the same listening to a recording. It's just not.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
tell your downline that very thing, because it's different. And this is why you're leading. So
Hey,
thank
way
you.
to go, ladies, stepping up. Like,
That's right.
I mean, we were really excited to see you guys on the calendar for tonight, and so y'all nailed it. You did a great job. We trusted Michelle 100%, but you guys came in and crushed it. So good job.
Thank you.
Great job, ladies.
You guys
Good
have
night.
a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.